I am.
All right, so here we go.
So my thing of the week is I've been slowly watching through Spy Family. It's spelled Spy X Family, but it's apparently you're supposed to leave out the X because Japanese anime titles are confusing. I've been slowly watching through it with a couple of friends, and we finally finished the first season, which was 25 episodes long and split into two halves over the course of 2022. So, for those who are unfamiliar with the series, first off, what parts of the internet have you not been hanging out in? If they're all weeb oriented, you've been seeing Anya, and you've been
Yes.
seeing pictures of your this guy, maybe not so much, but
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
but I remember when the show first came out, it was the joke was, what the all the weebs are actually in, in love with a woman who's of age? Since when?
Yeah. Yes. What topsy turvy world is this?
Yes. So, but enough about meme talk.
Yes.
Got distracted there. So, for those who haven't seen this, it's basically set in a fictionalized Germany, where there's like an East Germany and a West Germany who had been at war. Now they're at peace, but they're elements of the two governments trying to create war. And so it's like Ostanzia. I'm just going to call them East and West Germany because it's less confusing.
It's Westalis and Astania.
Okay. So I'm going to keep it to the East and
Okay.
West Germany because I'm not
Okay.
going to keep it straight.
Yeah.
Uh, so Lloyd here is the top spy from West Germany. He's infiltrating East Germany, but as part of his mission, he they're trying to get to this bad guy who's doing bad things, and they figure that one of the best vectors to get in touch with him is that his kid goes to a very elite prep school. And so Lloyd needs a family, so he proceeds to grab Anya here, who is psychic due to government programs, and she manages to get selected by him because she can read his mind and knew exactly what to say to make him make him want to choose her. And then he also needs a fake wife because it's a very traditional society. So he ends up married to Yor here, who is secretly an assassin who wanted to get married because single women were seen with suspicion and sometimes taken away by the East German government. But yeah, she's secretly a hit woman for the mob,
Yeah.
despite being the sweetest person in the world. Because and the reason this possibly works out is that she thinks she's the good guy. Now, and so here, I think that my review of it as an anime is that it has its perks, but especially in the second half of the first season, it's better as a manga. Because what struck me, and this is something that my friends and I started noticing, is that the series is very. It feels like there should be more urgency than there actually is.
Yeah. Yeah, I noticed that too when I was watching the show. I'm like, the first half of it I thought was really good, really well done, and but then yeah, then you get to the second half and it kind of like the story seems to grind to a halt because they're doing all these slice of life type stuff.
Yes, wacky slice of life scenarios.
Yeah.
So, and when you're reading the manga, that doesn't really bother you as much because you're just you're reading through it, you're blitzing through it at your own pace. Because I don't know about you, but like if I get unless it has like a lot of text in it, I can blast through most manga volumes in between 30 to 60 minutes, depending.
Yeah.
Uh, so you read through multiple stories, you have yourself a good half hour, and you're satisfied. But when you're watching it in animated format, uh, two of the they were typically doing a lot of half episodes to cover some of these little incidents.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you start noticing, huh, nothing much seems to be happening here.
Hmm.
And what took you like 5 minutes to read is taking 12 minutes to play out. And I think that's a frequent problem with slice of life anime that come from a manga is that the pacing between a comic and a show is very different.
Mhm.
Because comic you can I actually don't have one just sitting right here. A comic you can flip through, you can go back a page if you missed something,
Yeah,
you
something
can
like this.
yeah,
Yeah.
uh, uh, you can if a part seems
Yeah.
boring, you can skip over it and get to the good stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, but you're controlling the pace at which you read it.
Mhm.
Where if you're watching a show, you're at the mercy of the pace of the thing. It's why so many JRPGs anymore have a skip text button where you just cut off what they're saying. Like playing through Persona 5, I can't tell you how many times like I almost never bother to actually hear the whole line because like okay, read it. It's like on. Hey, we need to click. Hey,
Yeah.
zip, zip, zip. You don't have
Yeah.
that option
Yeah.
when you're watching an anime.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, now that's kind of the negatives of it. If you just accept that the story isn't really going to progress this season, like it's going to the high point of the season, I think, is the mission where they get the dog.
Yeah.
And that and also ended weird because that was the season cliffhanger, but then they had an adapted story from the end of the first, like one of the early manga volumes about them going to the aquarium and getting and seeing penguins,
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And he
which is a
he
good
has to. Yeah.
which is a good
Yeah.
story. Like it's a funny little story, but it's so weird to have it there because unless you knew the context that it was a bonus manga chapter, like I
Yeah.
thankfully I had read the series because my friends were kind of confused by that. Like, wait, what happened to the dog and the bomb plot and everything else? Like, why why are we at the aquarium now?
Yeah. Yeah.
I'll
Yeah.
also
Yeah.
say that it's kind of appropriate that the second half of the season has an opening song that is much more laid back and honestly less good than the first one
Hmm.
because
Yeah.
it fits the tone.
Yeah.
Now, I don't want to crap too much on this series because it is good.
Hmm.
I'll say that the animation is usually good. They've managed to adapt a lot of great scenes from the manga pitch perfectly.
Yeah.
That there is one scene where Yor uses her superhuman strength to kick a car off the road that they completely botched the execution of compared to the comic. Unfortunately,
Yeah.
which like what's funny about that was the scene I kept saying, "Oh man, guys, next episode there's going to be something awesome."
Yeah.
I can't wait to show you guys. The hell was that?
Yeah. Hey, Ninja Toe. Good to see
Hey
you.
Ninja. Also, the animators love animating Yor. Love
Yeah.
it. You can
Yeah.
tell that she is the waifu of everyone there, and I'm sure there was at least one fist fight over who got to animate certain scenes.
Yeah. Yes. Everyone loves Yor, even her brother.
Yes. What a siscon.
Yeah.
But overall, I'm glad I watched it through to the end. I think I'm mostly going to continue reading it as a comic because that's its best format.
Hmm.
I'm reminded of something your boy Zach said recently that every character has an ideal format.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, Holy Ninja says it's the
Yeah.
only time where they don't have to animate a teenager. Yeah, we were commenting before you got in here
Yeah.
that this is the one time when the waifu of the season is of age, unlike say the dress up darling girl.
Yeah.
But I would say that what I can also say is that I would say read the manga, watch the anime, and if an episode isn't appealing to you, skip the second half of it or skip to the next
Mhm.
because there's only a very small slice that are actually plot important.
Yeah. Yeah, I've of course I watched the anime and as
Okay.
yeah as I was no I've already mentioned but or as it was probably evident but and I've read some of the manga but I need to go back to the manga. I think I've only read like the first 3 volumes
Okay.
but
So
yeah.
the anime has outpaced you a little bit then.
Okay.
I want to say it gets like 4 or 5 in.
Okay.
Yor finally really gets her own story in volume 8.
Oh.
That she gets a real mission, and that one's pretty exciting. That's some crazy action there. So that one if and when that season 2 comes out, I might just skip to those episodes.
Yeah, because she needs more to do than bring Anya her gym clothes, which Anya didn't need her gym clothes that day.
Womp womp.
Yeah.
uh,
Yeah.
all right, so that's all I have to say about this.
All right.
Meanwhile, you went to media from that other island that makes a lot of media.
Yes. I got on to season 2 of Clarkson's Farm, which dropped last week. And of course, we talked about Jeremy Clarkson about 3 weeks ago on the show.
Eh, He got canceled, and it's kind of hard to disagree with people not wanting to work with him.
Yeah, and I'll probably put a card on the replay of this video for that video. But so you know what we're talking about, what we mean. But anyway, so season 2 dropped, and if you didn't watch season 1, I'll give like a brief recap. So Jeremy Clarkson, former host of Top Gear and the Grand Tour, which is also on Amazon. He has a farm up in northern England, up in the area called the Cotswolds, and I'm trying to remember. I think what he said was 1,000 acres, 1,000 acre farm.
That sounds about right.
Yeah, and so the guy who ran it before retired, and so he decided he was going to run the farm himself. And so the first season is basically him trying to run this farm, and most of the time it's going horribly wrong. Uh,
I remember he bought a tractor without checking to see what kind of hitch it had.
Yes. Yeah, that was the first episode. It was a Lamborghini, by the way, a Lamborghini tractor. That's why he bought it, because it's a Lamborghini. But anyway, so he tries to do all this different. So one of the things he did was he tried sheep farming and lambing, which he kind of enjoyed a little bit, but it wasn't very cost effective. So he couldn't. So he had to move on from that, and there were a bunch of. I mean, he has his hat in like a bunch of stuff. And of course, when you look at the image here, so you got Clarkson in the middle. Over on the left, you've got that's his girlfriend Lisa, who's Irish. And then the guy on the far left, that's Charlie, or as Jeremy calls him, cheerful Charlie, quote unquote, because he's kind of like this. He's kind of like an advisor for him, but he's the guy who always tells Clarkson, like, if Clarkson wants to do something, Charlie is there to kind of tell him, you might not want to do that. That's not a very good idea. He's the one who kind of like pulls him in to pulls him back. And then on the right, you've got that's Caleb. He's the young farmhand, and he is a country boy through and through. I mean, uh, he's never left this little area of England, or he only left it one before the first season. He only left it once for a school trip. He went to London, and he didn't get off the bus because he was so scared. And then in the first season, Clarkson sends him into London to sell wasabi.
Oh,
So he's driving his pickup truck around London. He's just like, oh god. But then the guy on the far right, that's Gerald, and he's Clarkson's head of security. He's the guy who like puts up the fences and everything, and he has this.
and the proud owner of a mullet.
Yes, proud owner of a mullet, and he has the thickest Northern English accent you will ever hear. He's talking to like Clarkson and somebody else, and Clarkson's just like, yeah, okay. I can't understand what you're saying, but all right. But then second season, Clarkson, of course, runs into he has a bit of a pickle because he's about to lose. Stands to lose £82,000 in farm subsidies from the European Union because of Brexit. So he has to find a way to diversify and try to make more money, and he decides the way to do that is with cows.
Uh-oh.
Yeah. So he gets a bunch of cows because he's gonna get a lot of beef and his grand plan is to have a restaurant where he sells the beef, and then of course he has chickens and lamb and all a bunch of other
Hmm.
stuff.
I have a failing business venture. What's a steady, dependable, sure to succeed restaurant or venture I can get into? I know restaurants. They always last.
Yeah. Yeah. And I thought the same thing when he said that. I went, "Oh God, that's a bad idea." But so what? So that's the whole arc of the season is him trying to get this restaurant going. And at first, he decides he's going to turn the lambing barn, which is
Mhm.
actually next to his farm shop. That was in the first season, as he starts up a farm shop, and then he's going to turn the lambing barn into the restaurant. Well, most of the difficulties or actually all of the, well, actually the majority of the difficulties he ran into was with the town council of the town that where his farm is because they don't like him very much.
Gee, what was it something he said repeatedly?
Well, something he said and something he has done, and things he's done too. There was in the Grand Tour, he makes a bet with James May and Richard Hammond that if this one car isn't the fastest car on this track, they could demolish his house. And sure enough, that's what happened. And so Richard Hammond and James May, well, not only well, they didn't demolish the house, they blew it up. So that was in the first season. We're like, well, he blew his house up, and um,
Oh man.
but yeah, so he does everything, fights tooth and nail to do it, and and of course they won't let him do it, and finally he mild spoiler alert, he has this other like old barn that's on his property,
Mhm.
and there's like a little rule that said that if a building's been on your land for more than 10 years, that you've owned for more than 10, if it's been there for more than 10 years, you could do whatever you want with it. So he just says, okay, well, I'll just turn that into a restaurant. And of course, in the last episode when they're opening it up, it's just pandemonium where he's Clarkson
Of
says,
course.
hey, yeah, yeah. It was funny is he said, I really didn't want this to be like one of those reality shows where on opening day all these things go wrong, but everything went wrong.
Sounds like they need to get the what's his name in there to uh, Hell's
Gordon,
Kitchen guy.
yeah,
Yeah,
Gordon
Gordon Ramsay.
Ramsay, yeah, yeah. I thought that too. I'm like, oh, I wonder if Clarkson's gonna call up Gordon Ramsay
That
for help.
there'd be an explosive crossover.
Oh yeah. But I mean, what I actually liked is that it's not a carbon copy of the first season.
Hmm.
I mean, they actually do some different things, and there's some more interactions, between all the different characters, quote unquote, from the show, and it's still really fun. It's fun to watch, and it's fun to see Clarkson just being Clarkson and
Hmm.
doing Jeremy Clarkson things.
Clark sing it up.
Yes. so, I mean, and what's good about this show too is you don't have to know anything about farming to enjoy it.
Because Jeremy certainly doesn't.
No, Jeremy doesn't. But yeah, I mean, if you got Amazon Prime, give it a look. First two seasons are up. So
Yep.
yeah,
So
on to the box office.
yes.